Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside. There behind the glass stands a real blade of grass. Be careful as you pass. Move along, move along. Come inside, the show's about to start. Guaranteed to blow your head apart.
Hello and welcome again to Real Do It Yourself Build. Today what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we built the roof. We're going to start with the joists which are fastened onto the wall plate, and then I'm going to join the insulation from the walls up to where the ceiling or the bottom of the roof is going to be. Then we're going to board over the joists, and then on top of the board we're going to put an upstand all the way around the roof, in which we're going to put a vapour barrier, then 150 millimeters of PIR insulation. Then on top of that we're going to board again with 18 millimeter tongue and groove, and then on top of that we're going to put our torch on felt roof. We're going to do an undercoat, and then we're going to do a capping sheet, and then after we've done that I'm going to show you how we form the drips, which is the edge of the roof that comes down and sits over the gutter and also takes away any roof or any water that comes off the roof away from the walls. That's the plan today. Let's go and build it. Okay, so now we're starting to put the roof on. We've completed the wall plate. You can see all these straps holding it down where it's fastened on. And the joists are 170 by 47. And there they all are in there. We've fitted the first one. We're using brackets to hold it onto the wall plate, and we just continue that process until we've got all the joists on, and then we put joists onto the old utility room so that we've got a single roof structure over the whole of the new extension. So what we've decided to do here is, in between the joists, now that we've got the joists on, we've put blocks in between. So we've got noggins spaced throughout the structure, but in order to firmly locate the joists and to make sure they don't twist at any time in the future, we've blocked the end. They're also held down with the brackets, so they're all held on in place. And the main purpose for the noggins and the blocks is to prevent any movement or twisting of the joists over time. Another reason for having the blocks in, though, is that we can then build up the insulation from inside the wall up so that it meets the underside of the ceiling. Just finishing off the cavity insulation, at the top there where we've blocked it in, the insulation finishes at the wall plate, we're just topping it up. So I've already put some in this one and some in that one. They're all full right up to the top, so that the insulation will be tight against the underside of the roof, against the OSB of the roof, so that there'll be a good seal between the wall insulation and the roof insulation. So while the wall insulation will come across, the roof insulation will be just the other side of the OSB, and they'll be in contact together. So that's what we're on with now. And you can see here how this has been achieved. You can now see that the insulation will come right up against the bottom of the ceiling, and then there'll be continuity of the insulation from the roof to the walls. Another thing to point out here that you can see in this picture are the fairings. Now the fairings are tapered pieces of wood which sit on top of our joists, and what they do is they give a slope to the roof. So whilst the ceiling underneath will be flat and level, the top of the roof, when it sits on top of these fairings, will be flat, but it will have a slight slope. And what this will do is this will allow the water to run off towards the end where you've got your gutter. Hello again. Right, what we're doing today is we're going to build the roof structure. Now we've got the joists in, as you can see, and they're all supported with the blocks and the noggins that we spoke about. But we're going to put a layer of OSB on top of the fairings now. And on top, then when the layer of OSB's on top of that, we're going to put the insulation, which we've got there, which is 140 mil of PIR insulation. So we're going to put that on top of the OSB, and then on top of that, we're going to put 18mm tongue and groove OSB, so that'll produce a deck that we can actually, or that'll form a deck that we can actually walk on. But that's for later on. What we're going to do right now though is just put the 18mm OSB on, the 9mm OSB on, and just produce a deck for us to put the insulation on later. Okay. Okay, so here we are on the roof, and you can see that I've put the OSB board across all the joists, and what we've also done now is I've got a 140mm boards, and I've put those up, well, it's 140 by 44 boards, and I've put those all around the edge as an upstand, and all I've done with those is screwed them straight into the joists below with 180mm screws, which has gone straight through the boards, and then obviously they're screwed at the ends as well, so they're well solid in. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a a vapor barrier across the whole of the roof, so that will prevent any air from downstairs you know, getting through, which could cause condensation on the underside of the roof. So that's what I'm about to do now. So with the vapor barrier in place, next thing to do is to just bring up the insulation and start to fit that in, and then it'll be board it over and put the felt on. So we've got three of the pieces in now of insulation. It's 140mm thick because that's what's required by the new standards on a flat roof or a flat warm roof, and all we're doing is using the saw to cut them to shape and drop them straight in, so it should be quite quick to cover this. There you have it, job done. Insulation in, just ready for the boards now, and then we'll finish off. We're just putting the top coat on now, or the top boards on 18mm OSB, and all we're doing is sliding them in just like this one, tongue and groove. Then we're going to screw them down. We're using 200mm screws to go straight through the deck and into the joists below, which we're marking out on top, and then we're trimming to shape. After that, we'll put the felt on.
Down my end.
A bit more. There you go. Perfect. Okay, so the tricky bit is in the middle of the roof space, we've got to hit the joists. So we've got these big 200mm screws, and what we're going to do is we're marking. We know that our joists are 40 centimetres apart, or 400mm apart from that end of the roof. So we've marked off lines at this one's at 160, and when I drop this through, it'll go straight into the joist after it goes through the insulation. Took a while to start. It goes straight through the insulation, there we go, and into the joist. So that's the deck put on. That took a couple of hours to do and trim it all up, get it all squared off. Next, it's the we're going to put the trims on the edges for the drips, and then we're going to put the base coat of felt on, and we're hoping to get that done in the next couple of hours. Okay, so the roof's on now, and we're about to start felting. You can see we've got an upstand all the way round, and the roof slopes from left to right as we look at it now, and the upstand is there to prevent water from running off down the side and down the front of the extension. So once the bitumen underlay's on, it's then time to put on the capping sheet. Capping sheet's much thicker and heavier, and what we did with this is we put it on a cross dimension or crossways from the direction that we put on the undercoat, and this is going to help with waterproofing and sealing. So this is how we're going to do the drip. What I've seen is, I've seen people doing the drip using a hardboard former, so you get a very thin piece of felt coming down, then going back up and then back over onto the roof. What I'm going to do is I'm using 9mm OSB because I've got some spare, and because it also gives you a very robust, very chunky finish to the drip. So this is what I've got. I've got strips which are 200mm wide, and so the felt will go on first and that'll hang down, then this former will go over the felt, and then the felt will come back up and then go onto the roof about a foot. So if that's 30 centimetres and this is 200, we're looking at around about 70 centimetres. So what I've done is I've cut these strips of felt, and these are 75 centimetres long, and they'll be what I'm using to form the drip. Okay, so that's the edge. Now when the water comes over the edge into the gutter, which will be fitting at a later time, it needs to go into the middle of the gutter, so it doesn't want to run down the wall. So you can see that this is clear away from the wall, and what we've done is we've used a former to form that drip, so the felt is underneath and then it comes down and comes around the front and then back over the top. So with the drips in place, it's now time to fit the fascia board. And you can see that with this being a warm deck, it's actually quite a deep roof, or quite a high roof on top of the bricks. And this is why we used such a big drip, in order to split it between the felt roof and the fascia board, so that one didn't look abnormally large. So finally we fit the gutter and we fit the drain pipe, and that completes the roof structure. In our next video we're going to fit the doors and the window, and this will complete our waterproof shell. Look forward to seeing you then. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.